Good morning. It's nice to be with you again on Zoomverse. And the good thing is, with today's technology, it's easy to remember that there's no geography in spirit. Reverend Cher says hi to you all. And although I'm coming from sunny North Carolina, I can feel the warmth of unity by the shore. I promised Reverend Angela and Reverend Cher that my message today would be cutting edge unity. And then I noticed three powerful words on your beautiful website homepage under the Who We Are section that said awaken, empower, transform. I knew right away that cutting edge unity is where you guys are with those powerful three words awaken, empower, transform. I hope my message today will be cutting edge enough for you. You probably already know this. Unity World Headquarters has announced that this year, 2021, is the year to stay centered no matter what by using the 12 powers for achieving inner peace in a chaotic world. So I believe that what I have to say this morning will fit very nicely into those three powerful words. Well, if you count a few left turns and an occasional right. As you know, if you've been a Unity student of truth for a while, we can call upon these 12 spiritual powers, 12 spiritual abilities to help us handle every life situation. Unity's co-founder, Charles Fillmore, linked each of these powers with a particular disciple, a special ability, location in the body, and color associated with it. For example, the power of faith is for the Apostle Peter, and the color is royal blue. The power of love is for John, and the color is pink. The color of dominion is for Philip, and the color is purple, and so on. Well, it occurred to my wife Cher and I that there's one more power, a 13th power, that could be added. And when you think about it, there's an historical precedent for it because of the nature of this power. We've selected indigo as its color. It's located just above our head, and the apostle it represents is Matthias. Here's the historical precedent. We chose Matthias because he was selected as the disciple to replace Judas Iscariot. The disciples chose someone who had the opposite qualities of Judas for obvious reasons. While Judas symbolizes the very, very acquisitive, materialistic nature of our outer life, Matthias, on the other hand, represents achieving the highest, most elevated level of spiritual awareness of our inner life. And one of the key characteristics of a centered inner life that helps us achieve that higher order of thinking, being, and doing is questioning unquestioned answers. By the way, Luke's gospel tells us that Matthias was chosen by casting lots. Scholars disagree about what exactly was meant by casting lots. They think it could have meant the disciples simply voted for Matthias, selecting him over another candidate. Some scholars think they could have written each candidate's name on rocks, place them in a pot, and then dump the pot and pick the candidate who got the most votes. It's unclear who that other candidate was. Some scholars think it could have been Paul or Justus. Others think it could have been any one of 120 or more possible candidates. But I've got to tell you that Cher and I are a little suspicious of a 3,500-year-old patriarchal lot casting practice and mindset. We believe there was another highly qualified candidate, and I won't mention her name this morning, who was more than qualified but wasn't selected as the 13th disciple. Some of you probably know whom I'm referring to, but that's another story. Her selection would have been very cutting edge 2,000 years ago. If you know who I'm talking about, I believe you'll agree. However, we'll give Matthias his due. He certainly represented someone who was more spiritual than religious and epitomized a strong spiritual life. With what little we know about him, he seemed like someone who had mastered the art of living in skin school. The process of casting lots was believed to confirm what their God had already decided even before the lots were cast. Throughout Israel's history, they believed Jehovah used the process of casting lots to reveal his will. Well, Sarah and I use a form of casting lots too, to find out what's true and what's not. However, it's a bit different from the casting of lots process used for selecting Mathias. For us, it's the difference between a period and a question mark. I'll give you a few examples. Here's the first one. The sun orbits around the earth, period. The sun orbits around the earth, question mark. When you cast lots between the period and the question mark, you find that the sun has never orbited the earth. Quantum physicists, astronomers, astrophysicists, and cosmologists all agree on this. It's the difference between truth and falsehood, fact and fiction. However, you'll find that some people would rather hold on to falsehood than truth. You may know some of them. In 2015, by the way, the National Science Foundation found that 25% of Americans still believe that the sun orbits the earth. Here's another example. Reading in the dark or sitting too close to the TV ruins your eyesight, period. Reading in the dark or sitting too close to the TV ruins your eyesight, question mark. Again, when you cast lots between the period and the question mark, you find that a dim light or staring into a multicolored tube at close range can make your eyes work harder and they might hurt and get tired. But there's no evidence whatsoever that these practices cause long-term damage. The same thing applies to the staring at your laptop or your iPad. There's no long-term damage with that either. And physiologists and optometrists agree with that. Here's another example. Oh, wait. Before I share that with you, I'd like to invite all of you to hold up one of your hands like this and put it in a fist like this with the palm up facing up so that your fist is sort of upside down. Now squeeze your fist tightly. Squeeze a little harder. Now open your fist, palm up. You've just experienced the Tao of release. You can put your hand down now. When you're holding on to something tightly, and that something I'm referring to is about long-standing biases, beliefs, habits, and patterns, you must be open to changing, modifying, or even outgrowing those beliefs and biases if they're based on falsehood, if they're fictional and not factional, if they perpetuate error and not truth. That means questioning unquestioned answers. It's hard to release things you've been taught as a child and in school. I get that, especially if your family and friends, colleagues, and culture believe what they're telling you is true. Sometimes conventional wisdom turns out to be conventional folly. I think you'll agree. The 13th power is about achieving universal, that's Y-O-U, universal prosperity, which is aligning your inner life with your divine nature as the key to mastering the art of living in a chaotic world. When your human self, small s self, is aligned with your divine nature, your capital S self, you'll live in truth and not falsehood. You'll be able to discern fact from fiction, and it'll bring you the peace that passes all misunderstanding. You'll know that you are an individualized life force, the image of your God essence, the global omnipresent divinity, the ultimate reality, actualizing through your divine nature as you in human form. This individualized life force is your soul signature, your spiritual IP address, when you think about it. It's the spiritual sweet spot, SUITE spot, that houses your divine nature and superconsciousness. The sweet spot is what Unity calls headquarters. Health, happiness, inner peace, and financial freedom are the higher consciousness benefits you'll receive when you question any and all unquestioned answers that are based on falsehoods that are assumed to be true. What I'm going to say next, I'm going to repeat slowly because the maxim is written in such a way that it confuses our brain's neurons. And it takes just a moment for our neurons to rewire for clarity. It's not us, it's just how our neuroverse is designed. Are you ready? There's an old dictum that says, something can be true if it hasn't been proven false. Or let's turn that around. Something is false if it hasn't been proven true. Let me repeat that again. Something can be true if it hasn't been proven false, or something is false if it hasn't been proven true. Now, here's an example of that. So remember, practice the dial of release, show open palm, fasten your seatbelts. Are you ready? Okay, here it is. Jesus and Peter both walked on water, period. Jesus and Peter both walked on water, question mark. Questioning this unquestioned answer usually upsets some people, many people, a lot of people. Hope you're not one of them. Remember your open palm. Remember the dial of release. It's important here. Here's the science behind my casting lots between the period and the question mark. From a scientific perspective, the act of us humans walking on water, using only our bodies without breaking the surface tension of the water, has never been proven to occur because it defies the laws of physics. Scientists have identified over 1,200 different species that can actually walk on water. However, the human species isn't one of them. Smaller insects, animals, and reptiles can walk on water quite easily because they're too light or have webbed feet to break the surface tension that water holds. For instance, insects have what is called hydrophobic oils that help create the surface tension when they accomplish their amazing water feats. Now, there's something else you need to know about water walking. There are substances called non-Newtonian fluids that allow us humans to walk across the surface of the water without sinking. And there are a number of types of non-Newtonian fluids. But probably the most common variety is a goop you can make in your own kitchen called oblique. It's named after the Dr. Seuss book, Bartholomew and the Oblique, and it's nothing more than an ooze made from, you guessed it, cornstarch and water. Did Yeshua, or Jesus, and Peter really walk on water? Well, to the best of our knowledge, neither Yeshua, Jesus, or Peter had webbed feet or hydrophobic oil capacity or fins or tail or non-Newtonian fluid. After all, Newton wasn't born yet. And neither had supersonic speed to run across the water surface without breaking the surface tension. Metaphysically, though, walking on water means staying above the negativity associated with skin school. So, in closing, just know that the 13th power, which is your higher consciousness-based inner life, is both faith-based and science-based. It'll help you move from fog into clarity, from darkness into light, from falsehood into truth, from living in fiction to living life based on facts. As you walk the spiritual path on positive, practical, evidence-based feet. Have a good week. Have Have a wonderful life, and don't hesitate applying your 13th superpower by questioning unquestioned answers. Namaste.